Good evening. Thanks for coming to Phoenix Books in beautiful downtown Burlington. And today we're here with Maryanne Wood. And Maryanne has put together this great book called Losing Barbara about a dear friend. And we're not going to take any more time. We're going to give it right over to Maryanne. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming. I just want to say at the beginning that I'm not an expert on the topic of death. Dying. I don't think who can be. None of us have been there. None of us really know. It's kind of a topic that is all about the unknown. But I did put together this book, Losing Barbara. It's about my sister who passed away almost 5 years ago. It'll be the 27th of October. She passed away. From breast cancer, and it was a process of healing for me in putting the book together. And I'm certainly, even after doing this and living with her for 46 years, or knowing her for 46 years, I'm not an expert on her either, but it was definitely a healing and therapeutic process. And the title, a lot of you might say, Losing Barbara. Well, what is that? Why would you say Losing Barbara? Because she died? What is the title? So, and a lot of people, when I was talking about selecting this, thought it was kind of a downer. Don't name it that. And I said, well, yeah, I really want to, because if you read beyond the title to the subtitle, it says, True Stories of Transcending Loss and Finding Eternal Love. So really, when I thought about it, I said, she really isn't lost. Never was and never will be. And so it's sort of like a play on words, losing Barbara, but not really. So not only did I write, but many of her friends and family. So each chapter is authentically written by a family or friend about their truth, their knowledge, their love of her. So I'm going to refer to my notes a little bit, but probably not try to too much. So as I said, who was Barbara? Barbara was a daughter, a sister, a mother. She started her career as a school nurse. She later became a hospice volunteer. She then had an interest in death and dying, and went from there to asking questions about how people die, how are they treated after death. She decided to become a quote-unquote licensed funeral director in the state of California where she lived, but then decided that anything mainstream was never for her in her whole life. She was always kind of anti-mainstream anyway. So she got into the natural funeral end of it and empowering people and families to do their own funerals and however they wanted to honor the person. So she not only did that, she was a lover of animals, she was a lover of the environment, she advocated for many, many good causes. And then when I thought about putting this presentation together, I thought, well, okay, that was Barbara. But we all have a life story within the human form that we encompass. So, I'll pick somebody that's out here, and I won't. She'll know who I'm referring to when I talk about her. But Barbara's story could be anybody's story because we all have a story. It could be I am an author, I am a painter, I am a lover of animals, I am a friend, I am a good cook, I volunteer at the schools and I read with the kids and I work with the kids. All of us have stories. All of us are unique in that way. But when it comes down to what really is important, and you cut through the uniqueness of all of us, there's this connectedness. And that's really where my passion is. And that's, I think, really what precipitated me putting the book together is the passion that I feel for the connectedness. And when you cut through the uniqueness, you get down to what's common among us all. Love, joy, sorrow, pain, all of those things we all share. And so that is really the heart of what is in this book. So I just wanted to read a little bit from the introduction, which again will draw on the idea of that. A pretty woman of Mexican descent sits across from me, quietly crying. Her muffled sobs and flowing tears are completely genuine. She is grieving for the loss of a friend and a mentor. I have no idea how long we sat together in that room. I do remember feeling the need to console her, yet I never moved. The outpouring of her emotions both touched and tortured me. It was only after a third person entered the room that I awakened to the realization that we were in my sister Barbara's bedroom, and between us, on her bed, lay my sister. Barbara Jean Kernan died at the age of 46. She was my only sibling, my baby sister. During that time I shared with this grieving friend of Barbara's, I came to truly appreciate the profound effect that one person can have on the life of another. This woman to whom I refer was a co-worker of Barbara's during her career as a school nurse. I later learned that not only did this woman love my sister, but her young daughter did as well. Expressing the highest regard for Barbara, this woman asked if she could have a pair of Barbara's shoes to give to her daughter. Without question, my sister had her own authentic style of dress, sort of a mix of hippie meets avant-garde. The idea that her shoes would be a sought-after item seemed ridiculous to me. Upon reflection, the idea of walking in Barbara's shoes is a fitting tribute and a perfect gift for a young girl who clearly had so much respect for Barbara. The ability each of us has to impact the life of another human being is a great and everlasting gift. Sharing that gift is the purpose of this book and what ultimately brought it to fruition. So that again, I mean, is so clear on the connectivity that we all have. So even in putting the book together, I mean, my parents contributed chapters, good friends of hers, boyfriends, this, that, the other. And in putting it all together, the connectedness that we all found amongst each other and how it just kind of grew and strengthened. And there are people that I still see and talk to and consider my friends, and it's because of Barbara's presence. So again, this connectivity, this being together. So now I kind of want to put you guys all to work a little bit. I wanted to have a showing of hands of how many people in the room, and I'll be surprised if it's not every hand that goes up, has lost somebody that they love here tonight. Okay? So in keeping with that idea, I wanted to do a little brainstorming with you. What were some of your feelings when you were going through that process? Anybody want to volunteer a first? Anger. That's a good one. Anger. Okay. Anybody else?
Regret.
Pardon me?
Regret.
Regret. Okay. Sadness. Okay. Anyone else? Disbelief. Okay.
Loneliness.
Oh, that's a good one. Loneliness. Okay. Okay, so somebody said anger. Anybody else felt that way? Anybody else had regret? Anybody else had sadness? I can't believe we all didn't have that. Anybody else have loneliness? Disbelief. So you can see, again, is this unique? No. That's a process. These are feelings we all have, and they run between, one day it might be anger, one day it might be regret, day it might. So, again, none of us are separate. None of us are alone in that process. All right. Now, taking it to the next thought, thinking about somebody you lost, think about one of your most favorite things about them, or something that you really respected about them or loved about them, or what have you. Anybody want to say anything about that?
Courage.
Okay, courage. All right.
Sense of humor.
Okay. Okay, that's a good one. Anybody else? Family anchor. I like that one. Excuse me if my spelling is not good. Anchor, I don't know. Anybody else? Fairness, okay. Non-judgmental. Okay. Anybody else? Comfortable. Okay. Happy. Okay. All right, so who of us wouldn't want to have courage or more courage? Who wouldn't want to have a better sense of humor? Or be fair? Or certainly be strong for your family? Not judging of others? Comfortable. I mean, we all want this, right? We all want this. So what I would like you to take back is take every good aspect, every wonderful thing about the person that you lost, and draw it into yourself. Make it become a piece of you, and then put it out there for others. I mean, how can that not be a good thing? How can it not be a good thing? And how can you not be honoring the person? If you draw, and I contend that even without knowing it, it's happening anyway. So that even if you don't really think you're a family anchor, I bet a lot of you are. And I bet you learned it from somebody dear to you that maybe you've already lost in your life. Or some of you are saying, I am too judgmental, but then you draw into you the memory of the person that wasn't judgmental, and you say, wow, okay, I can be more like that. That is, for me, how you move on beyond the grieving process, is to draw in the things that you so cherish about those people and let them become you, and then you share that. And then again, what do we have? We have this connection that it just moves on and on and on and becomes such a beautiful thing. My father gave me a book, I don't know, a couple years ago. And it's funny because sometimes he can be the most sentimental person, and I don't even think he intends to be, but it just touched me, and it was called Sisters. And it had little stories in it about, little poems or little vignettes about sisters. And one of them that I really thought was beautiful was, a sister is both your mirror and your opposite. So, yeah, that's true. But that could apply to anybody in your life. They can be your mirror, and they should be your mirror, but they should also be your opposite and be teaching you something that you may need to learn from them. So, now I want to read something from page 7. Let's find what we got here on page 7. Okay. I was a child with short hair. My parents preferred that my sister Barbara and I sport a pixie-type hairstyle as opposed to the long straight hair worn by many of our friends. That is why it seemed so odd to me that I would see visions of braids as I contemplated the death of my sister Barbara. In fact, in all the 46 years that I knew her, I never saw her with a braid in her hair. Yet this was the image I saw for weeks prior to and after her passing, one strand looping around the other, and the next around, until each separate strand was intertwined with another. A braid, really, isn't that what we spend our lives here on this earth creating? Each life is a unique strand that, as it moves forward, connects and twines with other lives to form a braid of life. So again, we're connected. We're all in it together. Now, when I was going through the process of losing my sister, and it starts when you kind of know the end is near, and it continues for, I don't know, there's really no right or wrong or length or time. You kind of just have to allow yourself to go through it, as I'm sure you all know. But emotions kind of run really high, and some days you're just so low, and other days you are, maybe I'll just let it go like that. And other days you don't really have a great day, but you think you have an okay day, and everything is kind of sometimes looking bleak. And I thought about, well, okay, what happens? And life is all about the polar opposites. And it's really true. So some days you would have joy, right? What's opposite of joy? Sorrow. Well, certainly had both of those. And then some days you have, and somebody said, regret. You have regret. You weren't nice enough to that person. You didn't do what you should have done for that person, what have you. Then what's opposite of regret is really contentment. And some days you say, well, I have some contentment. Wasn't all that bad. And then some days you have darkness, right? They're dark days, really dark days. But what's opposite of dark? Light. So we all live our lives moving around these things, right? It really can't be any other way. In fact, I have a good quote that talks about joy and sorrow are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you, remember the other one is asleep upon your bed. And that's really the way life is. But I contend that you, especially when you're in the grieving process or you've lost somebody you love or cared about, you're running through these. But in the scheme of things, if you keep moving up to the top, which is, I contend, this, eternal love, this is where we need to all be. Sometimes hard to get there. But if you move from any of these up to here, the grieving process, the loss, the feeling of hopelessness, despair, is made much better when you just keep thinking about eternal love. Because, as I said again, we're here for whatever length of time in our human forms. But that, it doesn't end there. I mean, any of the people that you talked about and remembered that you lost, you still feel love, right? You still can draw on that feeling. That never goes away. And so if you keep pulling yourself back up here as much as you possibly can, it really does make things so much better. And I talk about that in the book. Actually, in the introduction, I wrote at the end, I can say without hesitation that learning to cope with the loss of Barbara has been the biggest challenge of my life. More than 3 years since her death, there are still times that I feel a sudden, panicked feeling, as if I have been hit with a blow to my gut. It lasts for seconds and then fades, immediately followed by utter, complete sadness. I may go for a week or two without this happening, but then something will make me think about Barbara and the feeling returns. As much as I dislike the experience, I worry that someday I won't feel this blow to my gut any longer, and then I will have lost another connection to my sister. Connection, isn't that what we really crave? And as long as I feel something, anything, for or about Barbara, then in my mind I haven't lost her. Fortunately, this is when God steps in with His great mercy and grants me the presence of mind to look at my loss in the proper light. Emily Dickinson wrote, "Unable are the loved to die, for love is immortality." Now those are words to remember. So, immortality, eternal love. So, whenever you're dwelling down here, try to bring yourself back and remember to stay up in that higher level. And I found for me that really did help. And as I said, I think a lot of us, without even knowing it and thinking about it, none of this is new. I didn't create any, this is just what I've experienced through going through the process. And I think that if you, again, draw in as much as you can about that person and then spread it out. And I'll give you a good example. In June, the end of June, my husband died. Another huge loss. So I'm thinking, oh God, this is just, I was down in here again. Sorrow, regret, sometimes a little bit of joy, no light, darkness. So I thought, well, you know what? I got a lot of happiness when I went out to my sister's place for her funeral. I want to repeat that experience because it brought me definitely more up here. And that's where I wanted to be. So, and I know some of you already read the book, so you know what the funeral was like, but let me just reiterate. Imagine that you die, and at your funeral, held in your home, are the following people: one ex-husband, two ex-boyfriends, one current boyfriend, one dog, two children, one sister, one hospice nurse, and many friends. Add to this mix Buddhist burial prayers, followed by a service conducted by the minister from the Signs of Mind Church. Throw in partying until 2 a.m. with guitar music, singing, eating, drinking, and dancing. During all this activity, you, the dead person, is lying peacefully on your bed while people come and go from your room visiting with you. Not typical. Not what most people would do. And I'm not saying that this is the only way, and we all know it's not the only way, and there's a lot of people who would say, well, that's not for me, I want conventional. And if conventional brings you happy, that's good, do that. I decided to do a more unconventional thing when my husband died, and a few of you were there, so I'm going to put you on the spot, Margie. What did you think?
It was very fitting. It was definitely different today.
And did it make you think a little differently about what can be in that situation?
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought we could have had, it sounds strange even to say it, but such a good time. But we said a fitting goodbye.
Very good. Sarah, would you concur with that?
Yeah, it was very honoring. It was a unforeseen release for me.
Very good.
I did not know what to imagine and was a little nervous, but once we were there and we did it, it was
And was it almost like he was orchestrating it? And
Absolutely, it was just like he was there, and I'm glad we did it.
Right.
It was joyous at the same time.
So for me, that was like, and when I started thinking about putting this together tonight, I was like, well, what a carry through. You know, my sister, and it's so funny because the two of Ed and her half the time never got along. And for me to bring like a piece of her so much down to him at the end became such a blessing for me. And really, you know, I mean, at the end, as I said, we don't know. Who knows where somebody goes? You know, it's all a belief system. There's so many unknowns to all of that. So it's really the people that are behind that need the comfort and the peace. And it really, you know, for me that worked. But it was this carry through, this carry down, bringing in the best pieces of her and then giving them to Ed at the end was, again, such a blessing and part of, I think, again, how we all need to heal. And everybody has to do it in their own way. But again, like I said, this is what kind of worked for me. Okay, let me see what else. So I kind of just picked out pieces of the book that talk about different parts of the connectivity, which again is what I think is so important. So this was part of a chapter written by Barbara's daughter. It is funny how things work, the old game of life. Sometimes a strong, beautiful woman will remind me of her, and I will relish in her energy. There will never be another Barbara Jean Kernan. She is truly a legend in my book, and she created it, this book, all the wonderful tales to tell and hopefully reenact. The saddest part is knowing that the main character is gone, and no one can replace her. For now, we will write our own book, a literal translation of what we think of her and how her passing has deeply affected us all. It was as if she guided us to write it. Another one of those universal games, asking one question: what happens when we die? Perhaps she is still orchestrating some events in my life, like the little Irish woman and that song that pulls your heart chords right when you need to hear it. These little moments are monumental because I know she is still here. She will always be with me. All I have to do is look in the mirror at my reflection to know and feel her smile back at me. So how nicely does that tie in with the quote, a sister is both your mirror and your opposite. So again, in reflecting on the whole process and what it's been for me, I kind of feel like in many ways we somehow, I know it's a hard topic, death. It's something that a lot of us are afraid of. We steer away from. We don't want to confront it. We don't want to deal with it. But you know, it is. I don't know any of us that get out of this world alive. It's part of the process, and I think that we tend to, especially in the world today, with all the reliance we have on technology and medicine, that we have expectations of a long life. And today we all know people are living well into their 80s, well into their 90s, and many are seeing, triple digits, 100, and that's expected to increase. And that's fine, and that's good. But I also contend that we somehow kind of put too much emphasis on longevity and not enough emphasis on a life well lived, regardless of how short or long it is. And I kind of have issues with that because I think, it doesn't matter how long we're here. It's who we touch, how we live, what we do, and how we, again, weave those connections that really matters. So, page 53. Let's see what that says. So this is from my sister's friend, Kip, which I love this. He writes, for me, B's passing, that's what he refers to her, B. For me, B's passing was quite different from this. But in all of those experiences, the message were all the same. Hold my loved ones closer. Take hold tightly, let go lightly, as it is said. And then he goes on to say, we do not own life, nor is it something we can ever possess, try as we might. The connection one nurtures, again, connection, and maintains with others, particularly during the more difficult times, gives one a deeper connection of love and sense of gratitude for other human beings and for life itself, the essence of any spiritual endeavor. And then her friend Kathy writes, at first I thought about Barbara almost every day. It was months before I could reconcile myself to her death. These days I think of Barbara for no reason in particular, or sometimes because of something I hear or see that reminds me of her. Of course I have her things in my bedroom and closet, and I am refurnishing the couch. I just finished writing a new seminar, and that made me think of our working together. There are days I'm sure I can feel her spirit soaring all around me. She is no longer weighted down by her human experiences. She is free and part of the beauty of the universe. This, after all, is what she was trying to create while she was here on earth. I am so proud to have been her friend. So I just want to leave you with this evening this thought. When you return home tonight, I want you to remember to hold tightly to all those people in your life circle and let go lightly those who have passed on, drawing in the cherished memories of them and sharing what is most good and sacred about that person with others. If we do this, no one is truly ever dead. And I ask you, isn't that the ultimate way to honor a life? Does anybody have any questions? No questions? You've all read the book already. Okay.
How long did it take you kind of to write? I mean, when did you think, oh, I'm going to write a book? After.
Well, the idea came when when I was out in California for her funeral, and her not current boyfriend, but a previous boyfriend, we were talking about an event, and he said, we got to write a book. And I said, and it just stuck in my mind after that as something that, and it really was kind of therapeutic. And it didn't happen right away, but then I said, well, okay. And then once you kind of get into the flow of it, it just,
Start writing thoughts?
yeah, and it just moved. It just went. And then I formulated my chapter, sent it to the others, and then they decided, many of them decided to participate, which I thought was really awesome.
That's the good point in the book, that there are so many points of view. It's not just one person saying a certain thing. There are so many people, and it gives you so many pictures and sights and ideas about Barbara. It's not just.
But as I said, we all have a life, and it could be anyone's story, and that's what I thought, if I'm going through this, other people are, and it's not that she was special or unique. I mean, we're all special and unique, but I'm just saying it was just, like I said, it was healing. It just seemed like the right thing to do.
Did she have a diary?
I don't know. I think she did journal. I didn't see any of it, but
she had, for instance, I'm thinking about myself, I have trouble helping, that's for sure. But there's certain things, I mean, how much do you really tell about yourself and the things that,
Well, there was a lot of, this wasn't all a love fest with her. There was the good and the bad. I mean, none of us are saints.
I guess I'm talking about, where do you draw the, I mean, like say, of course I'm still alive, so I could write, if I write a book about myself, I would have to talk to you personally. I don't want to tell you what I'm thinking about myself. It seems in my life.
It also tells you that if you don't do exactly what your parents tell you to do and what your parents expect you to be, they're really puzzled by you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand you. You're stepping back. They have judgment on you. It's friends are better than parents in a lot of circumstances. Friends understand you, but your parents, they expect a certain thing out of you, and they want you to be a carrot. And if you turn out to be a cucumber, they don't like it.
Yeah, that's a good. Well, that was pretty obvious in the book too, wasn't it?
Some parents, not all parents, but some parents. Mm-hmm. Some parents, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if Barbara had written a book, you think if she would read that book, let's say she came back to life, would she be happy about it? Would she say, oh my gosh, I didn't know people liked me that much or connected with me that much? I mean,
Yeah, I think she would be.
I really think we all feel.
I don't think any of us know the profound effect we have on our friends or family until after we're gone.
I said, wow, you know, I have no idea that people were that.
But I venture to say you could get as many people that would write a chapter about you if they were asked.